The next presentation here will follow very well what we just heard from Mark Hertzgar. And it is Alex Halale from Malawi who will make his presentation about farmers' clubs in Malawi. Alex is representing a very interesting and a very important movement. It's an organization of small-scale farmers in clubs around different of the developing countries. He's representing the people who are among the most exposed to the global warming. Poor farmers cultivating very small plots of land, often in regions with extreme weather conditions, as Mark also was talking about, and with almost no access to irrigation or any of other resources that the farmers, like in the US, have. The Farmers Clubs movement is a creation of Humana People to People. The first clubs were created in Zimbabwe in the 90s as a loose organization of small farmers helping each other, securing seeds and other inputs in getting their products to the market. Today, the movement has about 76,000 farmers directly benefiting approximately 450,000 people in 8 countries. That's in Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, Angola, South Africa, Guinea-Bissau, India, and China. The Farmers Clubs program trains farmers in sustainable farming methods and cash crop production. The program builds on the capacity of people to create sustainable development, creating a more dependable source of food and income for themselves and their families. Alex, who is originally from Zambia, has worked in the Farmers Clubs program since 2006. He is responsible for 12 Farmers Clubs projects, totally 3,000 farmers. So welcome, Alex. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, I'll go straight in my presentation, and basically what we are going to look at, or what I'll take you through, these are challenges facing the small-scale farmers in the changing climates. This picture shows some of the effects. This is a corn. Yeah, in Africa we call maize. I think here is more said corn, isn't it? Yeah, and it's withering, and this farmer is able to experience that. In my presentation, I think I have 4 areas which we are going to concentrate. Basically, I'll give you the background of Malawi and its agriculture, and also we'll look on the impact of climate change, and also we'll look at the actions which have been taken by Farmers Club within the areas of climate change and food production. Also we'll look, or I'll share with you the achievements so far within the implementation of Farmers Club. Lastly, I'll have the conclusion and what picture do we see, or what's the future outlook of what we are doing together with the small-scale farmers. DAPP Malawi is a local NGO which is based in Malawi and is employing about 700 people. And within Malawi, we have a number of projects, and some of the projects we are doing, they are projects about agriculture, and education and healthy. I think there are 1.5 million individuals benefiting about all these programs together in Malawi. Yeah, I thought to bring the map of Malawi. Where is this Malawi? Malawi is in the sub-Saharan Africa, and it's a small country having neighbors around, and the close neighbors are Zambia, Tanzania, and Mozambique. And it has a population of about 16 million people living in this country. And 85% of all these farmers, or these people living in this country are farmers, which are small-scale farmers. It's about 119,000 square meters. Yeah, that's a signal of how Malawi looks like. Basically, it's rivers, mountains, and lakes, and it has a fertile soil because of the nature of it. Okay, now let's talk about agriculture. As we have already said earlier on, about more of the farmers are small-scale farmers, and they contribute in the food production for the whole population in Malawi. Within their small pieces of land, when they build together, that's what feeds Malawi. The staple food is maize, and that's the commonest crop which is grown in Malawi, which is about 97% of all farmers, almost all farmers, all population grow maize. They are small-scale farmers, and most of the tools they use is a hand hoe. That's the common tool they use for their tilling of land and also doing all the agriculture. When you look at the population and you look at the size, you realize that I think the country is a bit smaller, such that I think, in average, each farmer has a hectare of land. So from the hectare of land, you could see to it that this farmer should be able to feed his family, and also should have at least a surplus, also to gain income out of that. And additional to that, there is climate change. I thought it would be good also to have a picture of a house. This is the commonest house of a common farmer in Malawi. This farmer has about at least 4 children in every household. The impact of climate change. The impact of climate change, we'll talk about issues about sustainable weather pattern. That has one of the areas which we have experienced in Malawi, that we don't have a stable weather patterns. More evaporation from high temperatures, such that I think small wells, small ponds, small rivers easily dries up because of the high temperatures. Shortage of safe drinking water is one of the areas where we don't have enough water for the families. Shorter rain seasons. Shorter rain seasons comes as a result of the climate change as well, and outbreak of diseases, and lastly, smaller harvests. We have some recent effects of climate change, and I picked this picture as a recent one, which happened in February this year, where about 13,000 people were displaced due to the heavy rains and flooding. And crops were completely destroyed in some districts, and these are the districts which I've given out, or which I've mentioned, that Mangochi, Palombe, and Sanje. These are in the low areas. And the same examples, we had one which was already severe in 2005, I think, which was swept most of the areas, and caused food insecurity within the country. This is the picture which shows how the impact really has affected of the crops in Malawi. And I'm saying, I think most of the issues here is that it has deepened the poverty within Africa as a result of the impact of climate change. About 40 million people, they are threatened to have all these problems as the long run. This can also lead to economic and social instability within the country. The increased risk of a mass migration. This has been happening where you see some areas, I think it was example, Zimbabwe, where most people had to move to the Zambezi Valley searching for arable land so that they could be able to grow their own food, because out there it was totally dry. So these are the few movements of people which we have experienced. Social and political factors. I hope I'm not fast. Am I too fast? Oh, okay. Thank you, thank you. On social and political factors. Market forces. We are aware that I think they're the ones who create the wealthy. And the numbers of heavy people, hungry people, will really grow in the coming years. They will not decrease at all, but they will keep on. Farmers must unite at the community level and join forces nationally to improve the situation. We have agreed within Farmers Club, where we have mobilized farmers to form clubs. And the club, the standard we have agreed within the Farmers Club is 50. When farmers comes 50, they form the club. And this club, the idea behind is for them to form a unity, a force, a collective force, so that they could be able to work together on the areas, on marketing, on the areas, on agriculture, on areas of sharing enough seeds around, in the areas of tree planting, so that they could be able to mitigate the climate effects. We have organized these women and men to form the clubs. And each club, we have what we call a demonstration, where they've learned together and they take these lessons and replicate it or take it to their individual fields. To that 1 hectare each, they get this information and take it. And later on, we realize that the 50 have the uniform information, which later on, they have started creating surplus from the 1 hectare of their land. Farmers Club program. It started in 2006 in Malawi. And we had 3 main districts which we worked in, and that was Zomba, Chilazulu, and the Lilongwe district. Later on, we had to move on and expand it to Doha in 2009. As we are talking now, we have 40,000 active small-scale farmers within the program in Malawi. And we could see that I think all these ideas, they come together, we should be able to come as a unit, as a force to fight this climate change. Yeah, we have a concept. What is our concept in Farmers Club? Basically, I think is to inspire change one another. As they form in a club, they have shared experiences within each other, and that one is replicated for each other. And that's what we go for. And in that way, we would see that I think the entire program is owned by the farmers, because they are the ones doing it and they are united within the clubs. Because these clubs are within the same villages where they live. But before that, each one was doing individual, and in that way, they were not united. But the moment the coming of the program, the forming of the clubs together, they've won the program and they are able to stand firm. Within the clubs, they have some discussions where they are saying, how do we do it? And how do we maintain, we have only one land to live in. They have one land, 1 hectare, that they have. But then they need to create enough, or they need to grow enough, or they need to produce enough from the 1 hectare. And the coming together, sharing together, that's what has made them to be strong within that. If not, then they need to move away from that village. If they move from that village, they'll find also that village also has people. But the best was to unite and see how they could move within the program. This picture shows an example of a demonstration where a number of crops are being grown on a piece of land, looking to it that I think if the other crop can't do well, then the farmer could benefit from the other crop, compared before where they only concentrate on maize production. And when maize can't do well, that family is in problem. But now we have areas where we have maize, corn, we have peanuts or groundnuts, soya, and cassava. All these makes the whole household to be sustainable if the other one happen not to do well. We also organize what we call the field days. And maybe what is a field day? A field day is an event where a club goes and visits other club by seeing what others are doing. Okay? One club goes and visits another club and learn how they've done the demonstration, how they've grown their maize, how they've done their sweet potatoes and everything. Those are the events we call field days. And these field days have proved to be working well because farmers can learn by seeing, not by hearing, but be able to see and able to ask from the direct doers or who have been working on the field. Club organization. The way we are organized, I think we have seen the total number of farmers we have, but what we are, or how we are organized is that I think in each club there are 50 members, and each project has about 250 farmers. So the 250 farmers, out of the 250 farmers, 5 clubs are made. And these 5 clubs do the inter-visits, they do the field days together, and you realize that at the end of 2 years, the information is almost uniform shared by the 250 farmers. And in that way, they still remain as a collective. Then we have one farmer instructor who is responsible, try to give the technical support on how to plant and how to do marketing together with the 250 farmers. So the farmers are not left alone. There is an instructor, and also there is a solid foundation of the committees that they work with. Yeah, this is an example of where the farmer instructor visits an individual farmer and asks and gives the technical on how to keep the seeds and how to, where is the possible market where they could be able to seed and all that thing. Conservation agriculture. We realize that I think climate change, the temperatures has been raised, or they are increasing every now and then. And most of the areas that become dry. So we have a concept where we call, some call pit farming, some call potholing. But basically the whole idea is that I think you have a pit where you put compost inside, and when rains comes, that pit holds water. That means it keeps a bit of good time of moisture, such that if the rains just come today, the crop will not suffer, or will still have to have moisture around. And that could be maybe a week. And if again the rains come after 1 week, then that moisture could be continuous and make later on the crop could be able to meet the maturity stage. Compared when they just plant like that and rains doesn't come after a week and the plant withers. So it has been proved that it has been working very well, or it is working very well, where farmers are able to start harvesting in the areas where they were not able to harvest. Additional to that, it makes the farmer able to harvest because they've added nutrients to the soil compared to planting on a bare soil which has no nutrients. So it has 2 or 3 advantages which the farmers have realized that I think is a good way of doing it. Apart from that, also we are using what we call a rope pump. Rope pump, we are using it for irrigation. This rope pump is you dig a well, a hand-dug well, and where you put that rope pump, and in the dry season, in the times where there's no rain, this rope pump will be able to flush water down from the ground, and we have a tank. For example, here we have a tank where they put in and we connect the drip irrigation. I think drip irrigation would help not to waste water anyhow, but water go direct to the right crop at the right time. Under the same conservation farming, growing of different crops is one of the areas which we have intensified within the Farmers Club, so that I think farmers could have nutritious food, and at the same time they could have alternative when the other one dies or when the other one didn't do well. So we have bananas, cassava, maize, and vegetables, which tomatoes and the rest. That was about production. Now we have come on fire-saving stove. Fire-saving stove is a crane made locally where they make as a stove within the kitchens or where they are cooking from. And basically this has been proved that I think it saves 40 to 50% firewood. And this has reduced the impact of forest impact. Then apart from that, it reduces the smoke. In the nature setting of our villages is that I think when they cook in the kitchen, it has a lot of smoke. As a result, it's a health hazard. And to do that, this fire-saving stove has reduced the smoke because it is used little firewood and also there's ventilation out there. Apart from that, it also works as a remedy to reduce cutting a huge number of trees for the sake of cooking. Because if we don't have this type of alternative, then it means the trees which we are going to plant, we will still cut them because we would need to prepare food. So we were to do the other way to reduce, as we are going to plant the trees at the same time so that they absorb the carbon. We have what we call person grants. Yeah. They have said farmers' small bank account. What does that mean? It means that a farmer who has put a saving in the time again when the crop didn't do well. So find maybe the maize didn't do well. He could be able to get a pig. You could get a chicken, you could be able to goat, and able to pay for the medical fees, or maybe pay for the school fees for the children, and also other things would need in the house. So what happens is that I think a pig is given to a club of 50, and the offsprings will be given to the rest of the members. So they give each other. So in that end, you find that in 2 years' time, all the farmers at least they have each an animal, and also the droppings or the manure from the animals, they also use it in their gardens. So it's a double earning within the families. So that's how we say no, animals also is an account or is a bank account for a farmer. Back there, I think we have seen a number of crops which we have been doing. I think one of the crops we are growing is groundnuts or nuts, peanuts or something like that. Out of that, I think we have really trained the farmers to process it. They should not sell just peanuts, but they're able to process it so that I think the price increases. And this is a picture of a peanut butter. Okay? I hope it's clear. It's a peanut butter, but also this is what it means. So farmers are able to grow their own crops and also try to improve the value or add value on the same by making peanut butter. Soya production is one of the activities also we are working with the farmers. So what has Farmers Club achieved so far in Malawi? Now I want to share with you what so far we have achieved from the number of activities I've mentioned earlier on. Okay? As I said earlier on, I think there are subsistence farmers, they are small-scale farmers who only grew food to feed their family, and sometimes it was not even enough to feed their family. So when we came in as Farmers Club, most of these farmers could not have surplus at all. And we are happy that I think together we have reached so far that 80% of our farmers produce surplus that is sold for their own income. Within the clubs, within the Farmers Club where we are working, individual farmers can be able to realize all this surplus. Farmers are able to work together within the clubs, or what we call common buying and common selling within the 50 farmers. Because if they go individually to buy, like inputs or something, it becomes very expensive. But when they put the resources together, one goes and they're able to buy and share. It has really worked well, and it has really strengthened the togetherness within the clubs and within the villages. Irrigation, access to water for irrigation, which has increased to 280%. This has been done so because each of the farmers have access to irrigation. What does that mean? It means they can grow crops twice in a year. The rainy-fed and also the winter period. In that way, they have increased their income. Because previously they would only wait for the rains, and if it rains for 1 month and it doesn't even support the growth of their food, they will remain, and the whole year they'll be hungry. Now, by coming off the rope pumps, they've really increased their production. And this type of a rope pump is so easy, mechanical, where it's used by local materials around. I think if you could see on the picture, we have only a pipe. They dig the well, we immerse the pipe, and we have a used tire on top there, and a rope, which if a farmer, one of the pipe breaks, you just go and connect it. And if maybe a rope, just connect it. So they can easily maintain, and that has made that continuous production, other than if you buy something very expensive that, we don't have this spare part, we need to buy from China or something, but the spares are within, they can easily continue and repair it. We are still on access to water for irrigation. That is a canal. We have seen that when we have a canal, many farmers benefit from there, because that canal passes that village, and farmers benefit by tapping the water from the canal into their own fields. In that way, many farmers have really benefited in the irrigation and increased their production. 80% of the farmers have really adopted the conservation farming. And this picture shows the pit or the holes I talked about earlier on, that these are the holes which they dig and they put manure, and later on moisture is kept within that pit. Tree planting. So far together with the farmers, we've reached about 3.2 million trees planted for soil fertility and has reduced the soil erosion and expand production. I think there we have a picture of moringa and the other one is papaya. I think moringa is one of the trees, I think, in the tropics which has been proved to have a lot of nutrients and contributes greatly on the health of an individual. Together those are the actions where those are the few actions which has contributed to that huge number of trees we have seen. Because it's not an individual fight. They move as a club. They go and collect the seeds and they share. Because they have understood that, I think, the only way to reduce the effects is to plant a number of trees around our homestead. Overall production also has increased, which is about 250%. This has been so because it's not only one agriculture season, but there are 2 agriculture seasons within a year. And in that way, farmers have really, really increased the production. I think before that was a general outlook, but I wanted just to give you an example of an individual within the Farmers Club, how or she has improved or benefited from the Farmers Club. This is Janet TEMBO. Janet TEMBO, I think, is one of the areas or one of the ladies who have really benefited from the program, and we have seen that this has been so because, one, she has learned how to plan well. That means from the farmer instructors and from the club. Secondly, she have learned how to do budgeting within the family. And that budgeting is a support from the same group and the farmer instructors. And later on, when it comes for marketing of their produce, she is not alone because she works together with the people. As a result, the challenges which she could face when she's an individual has come to an end because they work together. So the challenges they have been facing has really reduced, and later on they've really benefited in being together. Her income was really increased from the $70 per year. That could be the start. But today, she's at $1,810 per year. With us, we thought this is a huge increase because she started at 7, but now 70, but now she's at 1,810. Also, this comes as a collective because the power of being together within the clubs, the power of being together with the farmer instructors has reached to where he is today. Oh. Okay. Okay. What are the few things I would like to conclude in my presentations? I would like to share with you, I think, climate change is creating more difficult challenges for the small farmers. It's very clear that I think all of us in the house, we agree that this should be the issue. To change traditional farming method takes comradeship, consistency, and trust. One of the things which has been there in the areas we have been working is to change the traditional way of farming, where you just cut residues, burn them, and tomorrow you need nutrients. You know, growing along the slope, it washes. All these traditional type of farming, that ones which make the farmers not to benefit. organize and mobilize farmers to help them to be more resilient, and they can also support one another. I think that has been mentioned. Resilience is a big issue, and it doesn't work as an individual, but collectively you can easily work and able to contribute. Conservation agriculture helps farmers to save resources, especially water, and which is more rain seasons, shortened and temperature rise. Diversifying crops, growing different crops, is one of the areas I think we need to really work together with the farmers. And also livestock, giving support or cushion in the times of when the crops did not do well. What is our future outlook? We are saying climate change is expected to worsen in future, and the impact will affect in the developing countries at the hardest. Yeah, we feel, I think this, if we don't do something, for sure it will worsen. But if we could do something together with the farmers and everybody here, we should be able to reduce the impacts. The problem begins with the basic imbalance in the world. The basic imbalance must be addressed if all poverty and hunger are to be reduced or decreased. So that's what we believe. Personally, personal choices and political actions by people in many parts of the world are needed to change the situation. So that's what we believe, and that's what we would like to work through together with our farmers. Thank you very much.
There's time for questions. Kate will handle around the microphone.
Try not to be sexist.
Hi, Alex. The question I have, I had the opportunity to go to one of these farmers clubs a couple of years ago, and one of the issues that seemed to be a major problem was getting the produce to market. How is that being addressed? Because obviously these clubs are in rural areas, the roads are very bad, and in order to get the best price for the product, you need to get these to the urban areas. How is that being addressed?
I agree. That's the real situation which we have, and we are working to address it by putting them in the clubs, and where they could be able to try to fight the market, because when they are as an individual, it's very, very difficult for them to win. But when they are in a unity form, they can try to able to work. But I agree, that's the biggest issue which we are working on in Farmers Club. It's an issue where market is an issue. Roads are very, very bad that I think they can't even take their tomatoes. For example, if they take the tomatoes before they reach the market, maybe 2-3 days they are on the way, and the tomato goes bad. So in that way, we have said most of the suppliers, they're able to come to the village and they're able to get it, rather than the farmers able to mobilize themselves as an individual to start selling as an individual. They don't get anything. I agree. It's an issue which we are working on, and we admit that I think we still have production and we need to sell these commodities to the farmers.
Heifer International for your livestock. Do you ever work with them, that group?
Pardon?
Do you ever work with Heifer International?
No.
Never.
No.
Okay.
How you doing? My question is, as the farmers get better and the yields get higher, are they able to purchase more lands to stay within the club, or how does that work? As they, like the young lady who is maximizing her dollars now, are they able to purchase more land and stay within the club, or do they eventually grow out of the club?
Basically what happens is that I think when they have surplus income they can easily, not really buying, but they can, we call it renting. They pay a certain fee to use a certain part of somebody's land, because most of the lands within our culture setting, they are traditional lands. So usually they can have at least a hectare. Now, since you have a surplus, she can also rent another hectare of land to another farmer maybe who couldn't use the other land, for example. So that could be the only way, not really buying land, but they're able to pay some fee to use their land to increase their production.
Just trying to understand the economies, how everything works. I know with the Farmers Club, I'm assuming there has to be fees paid to be part of the club, to pay for the instructor. And also within the economy too, when they're sold at the local markets, do all the produce sold at local markets, or is any exported to other countries, or how does that work within the economy?
Okay. How the clubs are working. We go into a village where we mobilize, saying would like to work with the Farmers Club, and these are the things we'd like to do. Then willingly, people joins the club. There's no fee they need to pay for joining the club. It's a willingly, collectively together. When it comes to the production, so far the production is sold locally. Yeah, the town around. Then later on, those other buyers, maybe they're the ones to process and sell others, but like for tomatoes, we do within the cities around where those farmers are, and that's how I think it really works. Yes, it's within this village settings that they don't pay anything. We enter into the community, we mobilize, we say what we'd like to work with together, and say, oh, this I would like to be part of it. And we move together through. And usually the program is for 3 years. The first years, you find them, they're learning. Second year, third year, you could be able to see income now increases because of the benefits and trainings which we have worked through with them. It's not a one-year thing that the same year we see these changes. No, it's a gradual as they move and learn together. And mostly third year, we'll be able to see all such changes within the households.
I have a question about how much does it cost to, I know you get donations kind of to run the program with instructors and so. How much does it cost? Do you know that?
I would rather that it's cheaper if we were to look at how much money are involved in other areas, maybe other activities, because if a farmer could be able to change his production within the same few resources given, I feel it's cheaper, it's not very expensive to work with. Yeah.
I heard a figure about $30 per farmer.
Yeah, I
that
agree
it costs to.
Yeah, I agree with that. $30 is within that. Yeah. So if you could manage $30, invest in a farmer, then you're able to see all these productions, then you would be able to say, I think it's within range. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
You talk about diversification of the crops over time. Do the clubs decide what all the farmers are going to plant? Does everyone growing some of the same crops, or can I grow tomatoes and my neighbor is growing cassava? How is that organized and decided?
Okay. Diversity is an individual within the clubs. So we'd see to it that I think when we have what we call planning day, they would like to plant vegetables. And within the 50 clubs, they said, 20 have planted tomatoes. Then me, I will not be able to plant tomatoes, because if all of us we plant tomatoes, no one will buy tomatoes. Right. So in that way, it works well, because they're in a club, they're able to plan. What are you going to plant? Or me, I'll plant tomatoes. Okay, I think me, I'll plant sweet potatoes. In that way, the diversity works very well. And that's how it has been within the club. But before we came in, since they didn't have time to discuss and share what each one or her plans was, they would end up having tomatoes, all of them, and no one buys the tomato. So in that way, that's the few things they have realized that I think when they're in a club, they could be able to share, and the diversity in that manner becomes to their advantage than to the worst.
I actually have a question. We know that as humans, people can be naturally competitive. What kind of challenges have you faced with the cooperation in the clubs? Do you have any strategies for conflict resolution, and are there any conflicts?
Yeah, basically, I think some of the areas, I think the challenges we have faced is most of the people in Africa, they don't know to read and write. Okay, reading and write is an issue whereby you need to explain a lot for them. For example, translating every document and things in their own language. And also, some of the things like insecticide or chemicals or seeds bought, they are in English, and in that way, they need to be translated in the local language. So usually the suppliers, they don't bother to translate, they say it like that. One of the area is the education levels within the clubs we are working with is very low. Secondly, the movement of people, for example. You have 50 members and decides to move from one village to the other because of the problem. So in some points, the consistency of the numbers of 50 sometimes could drop maybe to 39, 40, or 45. As a result, other news member could come in. And also the demand for more people to come within the clubs. We have a standard where saying 50 is the best manageable number, but more people would like to come in and thinking that still 100 would be the best to be in the club. So we have all those challenges where others would like to come in the midst of the program. Well, they didn't participate in the other first part of the program. So such challenges, I think they've been coming and we've been working through with them.
And how do you manage conflict within the clubs among farmers? Is there any kind of competition that you have to?
We have what we call a committee. Each club has started a committee which really works together with the farmer instructors, such that I think they understand culturally each other very well, and we can easily come in, but they work through the problems together.
Could you give us an idea of what it means to a farmer's life and a farmer's family to go from $70 a year to $1,700 a year?
Basically, what it means is that, one, the farmer should be self-driven. Okay? The farmer should have self-motivation within what he wants to achieve at the end of the day. Secondly, the farmer should be able to understand the program. When the farmer understands the program, he will easily work through. And third, when in the club, they are united such that they follow, they realize that they depend to each other within the club. But then the first two is an individual one. The third one, I think, is a collective to make them succeed. Because if they don't work together, she may produce a lot of production. And the others, they don't want to work towards the market together. Said, go and do it yourself. And in that way, usually, we have realized that I think it doesn't work. But the most importantly, the farmer should be self-driven, self-motivated to do and understand the program about Farmers Club.
I guess my question is, if you have an income of $70 a year, then you're purely subsistence. I mean, there isn't much you can buy for money.
Yep.
You're basically living off what you can produce. If you are able to sell your crop, then you have some income. What do the farmers in Malawi use that income for?
Basically, the major areas, I think, is their household needs. That could be able to meet the medical fees, for example, for his family. Is able to send his school kids at least to a good able school, and should be able to afford to have a decent house. They're able to afford to buy, like, specified on the better inputs, for example, able to prepare in time rather than to use the recycled, which could not even do very well. And usually those are the few areas where the farmers, I think, when they have those such surpluses, you could be able to see that their life is better improved because they can able to attend some of, or they're able to buy some of the services which they could not able to have managed if they had less income.
I think we have to finish this round of questions, but we want to thank Alex once again.
Thank you.
Very good.